So back in, I want to say 2015, 2014, maybe even before that, my wife and I were producing a dinner theater show down in Plymouth. And we had this concept to do a live band with it. So we needed a drummer, and Kayte's friend highly recommended Matt Heisler to me. So Matt came over, and just super nice guy, totally amazing drummer, and just we clicked, and have kind of been buddies ever since. And ever since 2000, whenever it was, 14 maybe, I've been playing with Matt. Whenever I have a band show, I give him a call. Brad Goff is a buddy of Matt, and Brad and Matt were friends from college, I believe. So I was friends with Brad on social media, and I remember seeing his post, and he's just such a smart and talented musician who plays everything, has such a knowledge about music. And we were playing with another keyboard player, and he couldn't do a gig, and I knew that Matt had played with Brad. So I called Matt and said, "Hey, what do you think about Brad?" And Matt goes, "Oh dude, Brad is smooth as butter." So we had Brad come to a practice with us, and he fit right in, he clicked. And the first show we did with Brad was a theater show, which are always a little more nerve-wracking than a bar gig. And Brad played beautifully the whole night and meshed with all of us. So we been playing with Brad ever since coming out of COVID. Sam Chase is a native of Scituate, so I'm a Weymouth guy, and Sam is just a few towns down the coast, another South Shore guy. And I've known Sam for well over 10 years, I think, at this point. When I was first starting out in music, Sam was doing a similar thing, releasing albums and playing gigs, and I always thought he was just such an amazing singer-songwriter, and I had admired his work. So over the years, we've done a bunch of projects and gigs together, and when I was building this band, it was kind of a four-piece for a while, and I wanted a lead guitar player, and I knew Sam would fit right in. He does a really good job at playing. He's just got a strong emotional foundation in his playing, which adds a lot of feeling and color to stuff. And he's just a good hang too. So we've been playing with Sam as a band over the past year and a half, but Sam and I have always done musical projects together dating back the past decade or so. Steve Davis on bass. So Steve has played with just about everyone in the local and regional scene. And that was the same thing where I needed someone to cover on bass, and Steve came down to a rehearsal, and much like Brad, the first show that Steve did with us was a seated theater show. And I remember listening to the recordings and the video and watching the video of the show, and I don't think in the recording Steve didn't miss one note the whole night. And then I was watching the video, and most guys that step in for the first few gigs, they have a chart to read, and Steve didn't have any of that. Just a rock solid bass player, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet. So as these demo sessions went on and songs started to shape and the band kind of started to find a sound, and we had a few great shows, we decided that okay, it would be really cool to record somewhere. And over COVID, another person that I've always known, they were out there and we were kind of friends on social media, was this guy, Eric Lichter. Eric runs a recording studio down in Haddam, I can never remember the name of this town, in Connecticut, called Dirt Floor Recording. And it's this old log cabin kind of perched atop a hill. He's got great gear in there, and I've always loved the work that he puts out, whether it be his own stuff or the stuff he does for other artists. And Eric is kind of a great singer-songwriter in his own right, turned producer, who kind of took his own skills and applied it to working artists. So we decided to go down and record at Dirt Floor because Eric and I started corresponding over COVID, and a songwriter buddy of mine, my friend Carlin, Tripp, he booked a session down there, so I kind of went down there to hang out and feel the place out, and just had a great time, loved the vibe. So I knew that when it came time to record this album, Eric and Dirt Floor would be a great fit to kind of put the pieces together. The vibe would be right. We could spend the night there because we wanted to go and kind of exist as a unit for a few days and just really get into the recording process and not stress a load in and a load out, and just kind of have that whole communal feel of breaking bread and playing music together. There's been a bunch of different people involved in making this album. Of course, Steve, Matt, Brad, Sam, the usual members of the band here. But we also had Jesse Williams, who's an amazing bass player. If I could, I would have Jesse and Steve on every gig, but I think it might be weird to have two bass players. Eric Lichter from Dirt Floor, who just did an amazing job facilitating us and setting a vibe for us to perform in. Guido Falavini, who's an incredible engineer. He engineered this 98% of this record. Molly Kupris, who's an incredible singer-songwriter from Massachusetts. Now she lives in Nashville, but she co-wrote one of the songs with me and has such a gorgeous, gorgeous voice. And we've always enjoyed singing and playing together, so we were lucky to have her for part of this process. Let's see, Cody Nilsson played pedal steel. Cody Nilsson's a great guitar player and multi-instrumentalist, and he did pedal steel for one song. So there's been a small group of people that have kind of made this whole record, but that was the whole concept of this whole thing. Is I wanted to do a project that felt familial and felt like it was my people and friends of mine. So I've been really grateful to have this particular group of people on board for kind of this lengthy, open-ended, rolling project which has become this album.